When they opened the envelope Sunday, the film Crip Camp didn't win an Oscar, but the documentary of a New York summer camp whose kids grew up to change the world, pushing for what became the Americans with Disabilities Act, did open a lot of minds. It was one of three nominees that featured themes of disability, and they ushered in the ceremony's first accessible stage and enhanced captioning. These might seem small measures to some, but now they'll be expected and respected every year. And that's how accessibility is built. Open minds and you'll open doors. That shares the mission of a nonprofit in Austin, training the next generation of disability artists, activists, and spokespeople. Opening Minds, Opening Doors is the name of the program helping people with disabilities find their voice and take it to the world. It's run by ArtSpark Texas, founded and led for 20 years by director Celia Hughes. She was a member of a theater company called Actual Lives that had people with disabilities write and craft their personal stories into what turned out to be 48 shows over the years. She was approached by the nonprofit Council for Developmental Disabilities, which was looking for speakers with disabilities and wanted to fund a speakers program.
Here's a great opportunity for me to take my idea of taking Actual Lives and taking that process and turning it into another type of a program. So that's what we did. We took all of the steps and the lessons learned and all of that from Actual Lives, and I wrote it into a grant to do this, to train speakers. And I worked with the woman who had helped me create Actual Lives, and so we worked together and wrote the initial curriculum for Opening Minds, Opening Doors. And then through the course of the next 4 years, we revised it and edited it and honed it down into the training that it is now.
Participants of all disabilities write stories and develop them into speeches that could be delivered in a conference or a small meeting.
Not necessarily disability conferences, but all conferences to bring the disabled voice to the forefront.
With the pandemic, the program went to Zoom sessions. The new setting limited personal interaction, but on the other hand allowed easier accessibility and forced facilitators to streamline a lot of learning and material. And it worked. The program graduated another class of a dozen advocates, and some of them are now taking the new course about podcasting.
I was so pleased it was so successful because it just showed to me that this can be a viable program in the virtual world. People with disabilities have, still have some pretty big barriers to participation when it comes to transportation, in particular, when it comes to being able to leave their house at will, or having to, schedule long in advance and stuff like that. So we think I think we're probably just going to keep Speaking Advocates as a virtual program. I hope that organizations that particularly serve individuals with disabilities are going to maintain, like I said, a hybrid where you do some in person and some online. I mean, the organizations that I know of are all talking about that because we've had people with disabilities for years. I've had people tell me that, they can't come and can we provide it in some other way. And so it took a pandemic when we were all, locked in our houses for us to figure out how to do this, and it wasn't that difficult. And so I think it would be really rude if we were to say, oh, well, now we're going back in person and too bad, so sad you can't participate anymore. I think that would be, more than rude. But so yeah, I anticipate, I'm looking at several of our programs and I'm thinking that they may be all virtual all the time. We'll see what the demand is, but definitely Speaking Advocates.
Hughes said that in 8 years, the program has trained 75 to 80 speakers. Those from Opening Minds, Opening Doors and ArtSpark Texas are running their own programs on how to testify before the legislature, speaking to the legislature about Medicaid expansion, addressing press conferences to protect disability rights, as well as speaking to Comic-Cons about their lack of accessibility. One has even fulfilled her dream by turning her writing into a ballet that she performs.
We've done a number of talks at different conferences, and we would get invited back the following year because people enjoyed what we did so much. It's just watching individuals blossom.
Because of its success online, Opening Doors, Opening Minds will be offered more often during the year. And in the true spirit of accessibility, it's open to everyone, inside and outside of Texas. Go to artsparktexas.org. That's ARTSPARKTX.org. Click Programs and Speaking Advocates. Or find ArtSpark Texas on Facebook. For the People's News, this is John Moeller reporting.